Imagine Michael Jordan, the six-ring king, stepping back to a crumbling Wilmington court in 2025. Not for glory, but to save a fading dream. Ambushed by a cocky crew of ex-NBA stars and hiding a ticking secret, he turns a ragtag squad of kids into a force, unearthing a buried tale that flips the game and shocks the streets. From a Shaq's dust to a final play, this isn't just hoops. It's a heart-pounding fight of grit, guts, and a twist that'll leave you stunned long after the clock runs out. Hey, Epic Stories crew, brace for Michael Jordan's wildest play yet, a secret game where he slams odds and rewrites history. If this epic of heart and hustle hits like a buzzer beater, smash that like, subscribe, and roar. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken? Let's light up this tale. Wilmington, North Carolina, October 2025, simmered under a heavy dusk, its docks creaking with salt and rust, the old community center sagging like a tired relic. Michael Jordan, 62, rolled in on a dusty Chevy, his frame still broad, under a gray hoodie, his gray hair cropped tight, his eyes sharp but shadowed beneath a bull's cap. Uncle Amos's last gift. Retired from the spotlight, he'd traded courts for quiet Charlotte days, until a call pierced the calm, urgent, pulling him back to the cracked asphalt, where he'd first bounced a patched ball. The center's gym loomed dim, its paint peeling, hoops bent, a faded sign flickering. Jordan Youth Hub. A dozen teens sprawled inside, jerseys torn, kicking a ball with listless thuds, dreams as worn as the floor. Miss Clara, 70, the center's steel backbone, met him at the door, her cane tapping fast, voice thick. "Michael, they're shutting us. Funding's gone. Last dime spent. Kids got nowhere. Help us." Michael's jaw tightened, his growl low. "Clara, I'm no coach anymore. Knees don't bend like 82. She pressed, eyes fierce. "One game, street rules. Hush, hush. Win, we get a sponsor. Lose, it's dust." Michael glanced at the kids, a wiry guard missing shots, a lanky center ducking drills, then out the grimy window, where the dock's ghosts whispered. "One game," he muttered, "then I'm gone." Clara gripped his arm, grateful, but a rumble broke the quiet. A black SUV screeched up, disgorging 5 figures, tall and sleek ex-NBA vets in custom gear, their leader a grinning shark in a leather jacket. Vince Carter, 48, swaggered in, his smirk a razor's cut, ball spinning on his finger. "Well, hell, Michael Jordan, the myth himself," he drawled, voice loud, taunting. "Heard you're slumming it. Thought you'd faded to Hornets box seats. Now you're babysitting this dump. Smells like a charity flop." Laughter cracked from his crew. Charles Oakley, 61, looming thick. Jamal Crawford, 45, flipping a ball. Some kids shrinking, others glaring. The jab a slap to Michael's hardwood crown. The gym's old clock ticked. Game tomorrow. Stakes unseen. Michael's eyes glinted, not to rage, but to a flicker of iron. His hands flexing slow. He let the laughter settle, the taunt hang, his voice rasping out, deep and steady. "Dump? Maybe, Vince. Least it's mine. You're still spinning on old dunks." The vets chuckled, but Vince's grin tightened, his ball bouncing fast. "Old dunks? We'll bury you. Street rules, no mercy. Legends kind till it bleeds." He turned, barking at his crew, their moves snapping sharp, a unit built to break. Michael watched, silent, the gym's hum a dull throb in his chest. He shrugged off the hoodie, dropping it on a bench. The kids eyeing him wary, a king in shadows, not a savior. "Line up," he growled, voice cutting through their slump. They shuffled, clumsy, a skinny guard, Jalen, muttering, "They're pros, we're screwed." Michael's gaze pinned him hard as a rim's clang. "Screwed bends. Don't mean it's broke. Move." They stumbled into drills, awkward, balls clanking, the vet's laughter echoing from the lot. A pang stabbed Michael's side, quick, sharp. He masked it, jaw set, hand brushing his ribs. The pills in his pocket rattled faint, a secret he'd buried since the doc's whisper. Heart faltering, time short, no games to spare. He'd quit coaching when the pain hit, but Clara's plea dragged him back, a debt to the hub he couldn't shake. Vince's taunt looped, legend's kind till it bleeds, stirring a fire Michael thought was cinders, a spark from the kid who'd leapt on these floors. The night deepened, one day to game time, the vets a wall of swagger, the kids a heap of doubt. Michael crouched, sketching plays on a warped board, his growl low. They're big, we're fast, they strut, we scrap. Jalen smirked, doubtful, but a glint sparked. A kid sick of folding. Vince sauntered past, tossing a jab. Dust off that crown, MJ, gonna need it to crawl. His crew roared, but Michael's eyes flared, a storm brewing deep. The lights buzzed, the court a crucible, Vince's grin a fading echo. The kids faltered, but Michael saw it, a thread, a shot, something raw stirring, something no taunt could snuff. The Wilmington dusk bled into night, the old community center's gym glowing faint under a single buzzing bulb, its walls humming with the ghosts of 1,000 bounces. Michael Jordan stood at mid-court, his gray hoodie tossed aside, revealing a faded bull's tee stretched over a frame still carved from decades of grit. At 62, he wasn't the spring-loaded kid who'd ruled the 90s, but those eyes, sharp as a hawk's, still burned with something fierce, something that made the dozen teens in front of him snap straighter, even if their sneakers squeaked on the warped floor. These weren't your polished AAU stars, no sir. They were Wilmington scrappers. Jalen, the wiry guard with a chipped tooth and a glare. Marcus, the lanky center who'd rather fish than foul. And 10 others, a ragtag crew of hand-me-down jerseys and hand-me-down hopes. They'd lost every game this year, blowouts so bad the local paper stopped printing scores. Michael sized them up, hands on hips, his voice a low growl cutting through the stale air. You're not champs yet, but you're mine. Line up. Show me what you've got. They shuffled into a drill, clumsy as a pickup truck on ice. Jalen's jumper clanged off the rim. Marcus tripped over his own laces, a chorus of groans rising. Across the lot, Vince Carter's vets barked laughs, their sleek drills a taunt through the open door. Look at 'em, MJ. Your daycare's folding already, Vince hollered, spinning a ball like it was 0-2. Michael didn't flinch, just waved a hand. Keep spinning, Vince. Your show's old news. The kids snickered, a spark flickering, but doubt hung thick. Jalen crossed his arms, his chipped tooth flashing. They're pros. Oakley's a tank. Crawford's a snake. We're just street trash. Why bother? The others nodded, heads low. The gym's silence, a heavy blanket. Michael stepped closer, boots scuffing, his shadow stretching long. Trash? I was trash once. Shack kid, no sneakers, cut from varsity. You know who bothered? Amos gave me a ball, said he bounced till they notice. I did. You will. Jalen's glare softened. Marcus straightened, a murmur rippling. Something stirring, something real. He clapped once, sharp as a referee's whistle. Dribble! Left, right, move! They lurched into motion, sloppy but scrappy. Jalen weaving, Marcus lumbering, the ball bouncing wild. Michael paced, barking orders, voice rough like a 80s pickup game on asphalt. Head up, Jalen. Pass. Don't hog. Marcus, plant those feet. Sweat beaded, sneakers squealed, and slowly, damn slowly they clicked, a pass finding hands, a shot kissing glass. Not pretty but alive. Across the lot, Vince's crew smirked less, their drills faltering, a ripple in their strut. Then it hit, a stab in Michael's chest, quick and hot like a knife twisting under his ribs. He froze, breath catching, hand slipping to his side. The pills rattled in his pocket, Doc's warning echoing. Heart's fading, MJ, rest, or it's over. He dodged it for months. Charlotte's quiet, his shield, but Clara's call, this gym, these kids, they'd hauled him back. He gritted his teeth, masking it, but Jalen caught the wince, eyes narrowing. You okay, man? Michael straightened, voice steady, a lie wrapped tight. Fine. Keep moving. The bulb flickered, the night deepening. One day till the secret game. Vince's vets a looming storm. These kids a flicker of fight. Michael sank to a bench, wiping sweat, his bull's tee clinging damp. He'd walked away from hoops when the pain started, knees creaking, heart ticking. But Wilmington's roots wouldn't let go. This wasn't Charlotte's glitz or the United Center's roar. This was home, where Amos's broom had swept a path, where a shack kid had leapt till dawn. He couldn't let it die. Not yet. Clara hobbled over, cane tapping, her voice soft but steel-edged. They're scared, Michael. Vince'll crush 'em. You sure about this? He glanced at her. Then the kids, Jalen drilling, Marcus huffing, a spark growing. Sure? No? But I've seen worse. Face Pistons with a busted foot, Utah with a fever. We've got a shot. She nodded, a grin breaking, but a shadow lingered. His hand brushed his chest again, the weight whispering louder. Vince swaggered by the door, tossing a jab. Hope your daycare's got Band-Aids, MJ. Gonna need 'em tomorrow. His crew cackled, but Michael rose, eyes glinting like a rim's shine. Bring extra, Vince. You'll bleed first. The vets faltered, a crack in their swagger, the kids perking up, a laugh breaking free. Michael turned back, clapping twice. Again, faster! They lunged, raw, hungrier, the gym's hum a heartbeat quickening. The night closed in, the court a proving ground. Vince's taunt a fading echo. These misfits stumbled, but Michael felt it, a thread, a pulse, something tough taking root, something no pro could snap. Wilmington's dawn crept slow over the docks, a gray haze spilling through the community center's cracked windows, the gym stirring under a faint hum of sneakers and hope. Michael Jordan stood at the baseline, his faded bull's tee clinging to a frame etched with decades of fight, his gray hair damp under Amos's old cap. The kids, Jalen, Marcus, and the rest, huddled around, their ragged jerseys a patchwork of grit, eyes flicking between doubt and a flicker of fire. Last night's drills had lit something, small, shaky, but real, and now with game day looming, Michael felt it, a thread pulling tight. He clapped once, sharp as a starter's pistol. Warm up, 2 lines, layups, go! They jolted into motion, Jalen darting quick, Marcus lumbering steady, the ball thumping a rhythm, clumsy still but tighter than yesterday. Michael paced, his growl cutting through the squeaks. Hands up, Jalen, hustle, Marcus, don't sleep. Sweat beaded, breaths puffed, and the gym woke, a heartbeat pulsing where despair had slumped. Outside, Vince Carter's SUV rumbled up, his vets spilling out, their laughter a barbed echo through the walls. Jalen swiped sweat, his chipped tooth glinting. They're here, gonna stomp us like last year's pickup game at the pier. The others nodded, shoulders sagging, the vet's swagger a shadow creeping close. Michael stepped in, boots scuffing, his voice a low rumble rolling over their slump. Stomp? They tried that on me. 84, Pistons, elbows flying. I was you, skinny, scared, no shot. Know what changed? They stared, hooked, the gym's hum fading to a hush. He crouched, knees creaking, eyes glinting like a hardwood gleam. Amos, old janitor, coughing dust, found me after a beatdown, handed me a broom. Said, sweep till you soar, kid. I swept, docks, courts, then soared, dunked on 'em till they ate dirt. You've got more than I did. Guts, legs, me. We're not done. Jalen's jaw tightened. Marcus straightened, a murmur swelling, something clicking, something tough. Michael rose, pointing. Drills! Again! They lunged. Jalen weaving sharper, Marcus planting harder, the ball snapping clean. Michael watched, hands on hips, the pass unfurling like a worn playbook. 82, Laney high. That alley where he'd cried, Amos's broom a lifeline. 84, Bulls rookie, ash in his throat, nights alone, shooting till dawn. This gym, this hub, it was his cradle, where a shack kid had leapt past cuts, past booze, past pain. Vince's taunt, charity flop, stirred it. A fire he'd thought was cold. A twinge stabbed his chest, hot, quick. He masked it, jaw clenched, hand brushing his ribs. The pills rattled, a whisper he shoved down. Heart's ticking, MJ. Slow it or stop. But these kids, this place, they pulled harder. Clara hobbled over, cane tapping, her voice soft. They're believing little bit. Vince'll test that. Michael nodded, eyes on Jalen's crossover. He'll test. Good. We got roots to show. Vince strutted in, leather jacket gleaming, his grin a blade's edge. Morning, MJ. Your misfits ready to bleed? Clock's ticking. Street rules. Tonight, no refs. His crew, Oakley, Crawford, the rest, loomed, their gear crisp, their chuckles a taunt. Michael met Vince's stare, steady as a free throw line. Tick all you want. We'll be there. Bring ice. You'll need it. Vince's grin faltered, his crew shifting, a crack in their polish. The kids paused, watching. Jalen's fist balled. Marcus's chest puffed, a spark catching flame. Michael clapped twice, voice booming. Scrimmage. 5-on-5 now. They split, hustling. Jalen driving. Marcus blocking. The ball zipping fast. Not perfect. Shots clanged. Passes wobbled. But fierce. A scrappy dance taking shape. Vince snorted, turning away, but his laugh rang hollow, the gym's pulse drowning it out. Hours burned. Drills to plays, sweat to grit, the kids shedding rust. Michael barked, paced, his bull's tee soaked, his chest twinging sharper. He pushed it back, eyes on the team. Jalen sank a jumper, fist pumping. Marcus swatted a shot, roaring low. A crew growing roots. Clara grinned, cane tapping pride. They're yours, Michael. Damn near a team. He nodded, a faint smile breaking, but the weight pressed. Pills, pain, a clock he couldn't outrun. Dusk fell, the gym a cauldron, Vince's shadow a fading sneer. The kids gathered, breathless, Jalen grinning. We might not die tonight. Michael chuckled, deep and rough. Might not, might win. Rest up, game's coming. They scattered, a buzz trailing, but Michael lingered, hand on his chest, Amos's cap a quiet anchor, a past unfurling, a team rising, a fight no pain could bury. Wilmington's night draped thick over the docks, the community center's gym pulsing under a patchwork of strung bulbs, their flicker casting jagged shadows on the cracked court. Michael Jordan stood at the edge, his faded bull's tee soaked under Amos's cap, his gray hair glinting damp, his frame a weathered oak braced for storm. The kids, Jalen, Marcus, and the scrappy dozen, clustered tight, their torn jerseys a badge of grit, eyes darting between nerves and a raw, hungry gleam. Tonight was it. The secret game, street rules, no refs, a last stand to save the hub. The air buzzed. Locals crammed the bleachers, 100 strong, their murmurs a restless hum, beers clinking, kids perched on laps. Across the court, Vince Carter's vets swaggered in, Oakley's bulk a wall, Crawford's wiry frame a coil, Vince spinning a ball with a grin sharp as a switchblade. Showtime, MJ, Vince called, voice slicing loud. Your daycare's cute. Hope they brought tissues. Laughter cracked from his crew, the crowd shifting, some jeering back, others hushing, the taunt a spark on dry wood. Michael clapped once, a crack like thunder. Line up, Jalen point, Marcus post, play tight. The kids jolted, Jalen bouncing the ball, Marcus planting wide. Their warm-up a scrappy dance, fast, rough, alive. Michael paced, his growl low, eyes up, Move it. The tip-off loomed, the clock a busted relic. Street rules meant no time. Just score to 50. Winner takes all. Clara leaned on her cane, whispering, "They're ready, mostly." Michael nodded, eyes on Vince, a storm brewing deep. The ball flew. Oakley snatched it, bulldozing Marcus flat. Crawford weaving for a quick three. Swish. 3-0. Vets up. The crowd groaning low. Jalen darted, stole it back, drove. Vince swatted it hard, a smirk flashing. "Welcome to the bigs, kid." The Vets roared 6-0. Their game a machine. Sharp passes, brutal picks, every move a taunt. Michael's kids scrambled. Jalen's jumper clanged. Marcus fumbled, the score climbing. 12-2, 18-4. Vince's crew strutting like it was 98. Then it hit. A stab in Michael's chest, hot and deep, like a piston jamming hard. He staggered, breath hitching, hand clutching his side. "Damn pills, damn ticker." The doc's voice echoing. "Rest, MJ, or it's done." He masked it, jaw locked, sweat beating cold. But Jalen caught it, eyes narrowing. "You good, coach?" Michael straightened, voice a rasp. "Good. Keep fighting." Jalen nodded, wary. The game roaring on. 22-6. Vets rolling, the kids flailing, the crowd's cheers thinning to a mutter. Michael barked, sharp as a whistle's blast. "Switch it! Jalen, drive! Marcus, screen!" They pivoted. Jalen darted past Crawford. Marcus blocked Oakley, a pass zipping clean. Slam! 2 points, the bleachers erupting, a spark flaring. 22-8, small but loud. Vince sneered, driving back, swish, 25-8. But Jalen stole again, a layup kissing glass, 25-10. The Vets tightened, Oakley slamming Marcus down, Crawford sinking another, 30-10. But the kids dug in, a scrappy edge cutting through. Michael's chest burned, each shout a knife, each step a grind. But he paced, eyes blazing, his voice a lifeline. "Hustle, steal it." Marcus lunged, tipped a pass. Jalen scooped, raced, scored, 30-12. The crowd surged, stomping boards, a chant rising. "Let's go, Hub!" Vince's grin flickered, his crew faltering. A missed shot, a fumble. The kids clawing back, 30-16. Michael clapped, fierce. "That's it. Scrap!" But the pain flared, hot, relentless. He leaned on the bench, breath short, Clara's eyes widening. "Michael!" "Fine," he snapped, cutting her off, hand trembling, the lie a shield. The Vets rallied. Vince drove, elbowing Jalen, a jumper soaring. 35-16. Oakley grinning. "Over yet, MJ?" The kids sagged, the gap yawning, but Michael rose, boots scuffing, his growl a roar. "Over. I've played sicker. 96, flu, 38 points. You're winded. We're warming up." Jalen's eyes flared. Marcus puffed up, the crowd roaring back, a tide turning, a pulse quickening. The game raged, 40-18. Vets ahead, but the kids fought, Jalen weaving, Marcus battling. Every point a bruise earned. Michael's chest screamed, each beat a hammer. But he stood, cap shadowing his strain, his voice a rock. "Keep it. Push." The bleachers thumped, the hub's heartbeat swelling, locals yelling, kids cheering, a fight no strut could snuff. Vince's smirk wavered, his crew glancing, something shifting, something raw. The night thickened, the court a furnace. Vince's taunt a fading hiss. The kids bled sweat, Michael bled will. A shadow looming, a game teetering, a fire no pain could douse. The Wilmington gym boiled under the strung bulbs, their flicker dancing wild across the cracked court, the air thick with sweat and desperation. Michael Jordan leaned against the bench, his faded bull's tee clinging damp, Amos's cap shadowing a face carved with strain, his gray hair plastered, his frame a pillar buckling slow. The kids, Jalen, Marcus, and the scrappy crew, hustled ragged, their torn jerseys soaked, their gasps a ragged chorus against the Vets' relentless roar. The score burned, 42-20, Vince Carter's crew a freight train, the hub's fate teetering on a razor's edge. Vince drove hard, elbowing Jalen aside. Swish, 45-20, his grin flashing sharp. Pack it up, MJ. Your sandbox is done. Oakley bulldozed Marcus, a dunk rattling the rim, 47-20. Crawford weaving for a jumper, 50-20. The vets hitting the street rule cap. Victory a breath away. The bleachers groaned, locals slumping, a few kids burying heads in hands, the chant fading to a whisper. Jalen stumbled, ball slipping, his chipped tooth gritted. We're cooked. They're too damn good. Marcus sagged, hands on knees, the fight leaking fast. Michael's chest seared, a hot spike twisting deep. He clutched his side, breath shallow, the pills rattling a silent scream. Tickers quitting, MJ, sit or it's over. He masked it, jaw locked, sweat stinging his eyes, but Clara caught it, cane trembling. Michael, stop, rest. He waved her off, voice a rasp. Not yet. Time out. The kids dragged over, heads low, the vets strutting, Vince tossing a taunt. Nice try, old man. History's calling. Michael crouched, knees creaking, his growl cutting through their slump. Cooked? I've been cooked as 91. Finals, Lakers up, game 1 crushing us. Know what I did? They stared, winded, hooked. The gym's hum a hush. I'm 28, legs screaming, Pistons broke me for years. Said I'd never win. Magic's running, Worthy's slamming. I'm cooked, right? No? I shot till my hands bled, flipped it. Game 2, 33 points. We took it all. Jalen's eyes widened. Marcus straightened, a murmur stirring, something clicking. He rose, boots scuffing, voice a low blaze. You're down, 30 points, vets chewing you up. I've been there, so 96, flu game. Utah laughing, 104 fever, gut twisting. Doc said quit. Team said fold. I dragged my ass out, dropped 38, stole the ring. You're not cooked, you're warming. Jalen's fists balled. Marcus puffed up, the kids nodding, a spark flaring. Michael clapped, fierce. Back in, Jalen, drive, Marcus, wall up, steal it. They lunged. Jalen darted past Crawford, a layup kissing glass. 50-22. The bleachers erupting, a roar swelling. Vince sneered, driving back. Oakley screamed, a dunk thundering. 52-22. But Marcus swatted the next. Jalen scooping, racing, 52-24. The vets tightened. Crawford sinking a three, 55-24. But the kids scrapped harder. Jalen stealing, Marcus slamming, 55-28. The crowd surged, stomping boards, a chant rising. Hub! Hub! Locals pounding fists, hope clawing back. Michael's chest screamed, each shout a hammer, each breath a grind. But he paced, eyes blazing, his voice a lifeline. Push, take it! Jalen weaved, a jumper soaring, 55-31. Marcus battled Oakley, a putback rattling, 55-33. Vince's grin faltered, his crew stumbling, a missed pass, a fumble. The kids clawing, 55-37. The vets rallied. Vince drove, elbowing Marcus, a three ripping net, 58-37. But the gap shrank, the hub's heartbeat thumping loud. Clara gripped her cane, eyes wet. They're fighting, Michael. God, they're fighting. He nodded, a faint smile breaking. But the pain flared, hot, relentless. He staggered, hand trembling, the lie cracking thin. Jalen caught it, rushing over. Coach, you're hurting. Michael straightened, voice a growl. Hurting wins. Keep going. Jalen hesitated, then nodded. The game roaring on, 60-40. Vets ahead, but the kids relentless. Jalen's steal, Marcus's block, 60-44. The bleachers thundered. A woman in a faded bull's cap screaming, "They've got soul." Vince's eyes narrowed, his crew glancing, something shifting, something fierce. Michael stood, cap shadowing his strain, his voice a rock. That's it. Scrap. The kids bled sweat, their fight aflame, every point a bruise, every steal a shout. The vets pressed, 63-44, but the kids held, a scrappy fire burning brighter. The night deepened, the court a crucible, Vince's strut a fading echo. Michael's chest pounded, each beat a war, But he stayed, a king fueling a rebellion, a story no gap could bury. The Wilmington gym thundered under the strung bulbs, their jittery glow slashing across the cracked court, the air a stew of sweat, cheers, and desperation. Michael Jordan stood at the sideline, his faded Bulls tee a damp flag, Amos's cap shadowing a face etched with pain, his gray hair plastered, his frame a rock trembling on the edge. The kids, Jalen, Marcus, and the scrappy dozen battled fierce, their torn jerseys a banner of grit, their gasps a wild hymn against the vets' brutal tide. The score glared, 65-48, Vince Carter's crew a bulldozer, the hub's lifeline fraying thin. Vince weaved a jumper soaring, 68-48, his grin a blade flashing wide. Lights out, MJ. Your fairy tale's toast. Oakley plowed Marcus flat, a dunk booming, 70-48, Crawford darting for a layup, 72-48. The vets surging, victory a heartbeat away. The bleachers sagged, locals gripping rails, a few muttering prayers, the chant a fading echo. Jalen stumbled, ball slipping, his chipped tooth bared. They're killing us! Again! Marcus slumped, hands braced, the fight flickering dim. Michael's chest blazed, a searing jolt ripping deep. He staggered, breath choking, hand clawing his side. Ticker's done, MJ. It's now or never. The pills rattled, a scream he couldn't hush. Doc's voice a ghost. One push too far, you're gone. He masked it, jaw clenched, sweat streaming cold, but Clara rushed over, cane thudding. Michael, stop, you're gray. He shook her off, voice a rasp. Not now, huddle up. The kids dragged in, heads low, the vets strutting, Vince tossing a jab. Bury 'em, boys, MJ's done dreaming. Michael sank to a knee, boots scuffing, his growl a lifeline through their haze. Killing us? I've been killed. 93, Dad gone, world spinning, bulls waiting. Know why I'm here? They stared, winded, hooked. The gym's roar a hush. Amos died that year. Cancer ate him, last letter said, play for me, kid. This hub's yours. I quit. Baseball grief. Then came back. Won 3 more. This ain't about me. It's his, yours, ours. Jalen's eyes flared. Marcus straightened, a murmur swelling, a spark bursting flame. He rose, shaky, voice a low thunder. They're up. 24 points, vets chewing dirt. I've been there. 98, Utah. Last shot. Legs jelly. 35 years old. Took it. 17 feet. Ring 6. You've got more. Guts. Heart. Me. Turn it. Jalen's fist balled. Marcus roared low. The kids nodding, a fire catching. Michael clapped, fierce, wincing hard. Jalen, weave. Marcus, crash. Steal everything. They bolted. Jalen darted past Crawford, a jumper kissing net, 72-51. The bleachers erupting, a roar surging. Vince sneered, driving back. Oakley screened, a 3 soaring, 75-51. But Marcus swatted the next. Jalen scooping, racing, 75-54. The vets tightened, Crawford sinking a layup, 77-54. But the kids scrapped harder. Jalen stealing, Marcus slamming, 77-58. The crowd surged, stomping boards, a chant thundering, hub, hub. Locals pounding fists, hope clawing fierce. Vince's grin cracked, his crew fumbling. A missed shot, a turnover, the kids clawing, 77-63. Michael's chest screamed. Each beat a war, but he paced, eyes blazing, his voice a rock. Take it, now! Jalen weaved, a 3 ripping net, 77-66. Marcus battled Oakley, a putback rattling, 77-68. The vets rallied. Vince drove, elbowing Jalen, a jumper soaring, 80-68. But the kids held. Jalen's steal, Marcus's block, 80-72. The bleachers detonated, a guy in a bull's cap screaming, they're alive! Vince's eyes narrowed, his crew glancing, something turning, something raw. Michael stood, cap shadowing his strain, his voice a lifeline. Keep it, push! Then it broke. The pain flared, a white-hot wave. He buckled, dropping to a knee, hand clutching his chest, breath gone. The kids froze. Jalen rushing over. "Coach, Jesus, you're out." Clara hobbled in, voice cracking. "Michael, stop, please." He gasped, eyes glinting, voice a thread. "Not stopping, winning. For Amos, you go." Jalen hesitated, tears brimming, then nodded, the game roaring on. 82-75. Vets ahead, but the kids relentless. Jalen's jumper, Marcus's slam, 82-80. The crowd thundered, a woman in a Hornets cap sobbing, "He's killing himself for us." Vince's smirk vanished, his crew faltering, something shifting, something fierce. Michael slumped to the bench, hand trembling, Clara gripping his arm, tickers breaking, but they're rising. The kids bled sweat, their fight ablaze, every point a scar, every steal a shout. The vets pressed, 85-80, but the kids burned, a scrappy fire no lead could douse. The night tightened, the court a crucible, Vince's strut a fading ghost. Michael's chest pounded, each beat a battle, but he stayed, a king fueling a revolt, a secret no pain could bury. The Wilmington gym roared under the strung bulbs, their wild flicker slashing the cracked court, the air a furnace of sweat, cheers, and raw hope. Michael Jordan slumped on the bench, his faded bull's tee a soaked rag, Amos's cap shadowing a face pale with strain, his gray hair dripping, his frame a titan teetering on collapse. The kids, Jalen, Marcus, and the scrappy crew, battled fierce, their torn jerseys a flag of defiance, their gasps a thunder against the vets' crumbling wall. The score blazed, 87-83, Vince Carter's crew clinging tight, the hub's fate a heartbeat from salvation. Vince drove hard, a jumper soaring, 90-83, his grin a jagged shard. "Too late, MJ, your kids are done." Oakley plowed Marcus, a layup booming, 92-83, Crawford weaving for a three, 95-83, the vets clawing to seal it, victory a whisper away. The bleachers quaked, locals leaping, a few screaming hoarse, the chant a tidal roar. "Hub! Hub!" Jalen stumbled, ball slipping, his chipped tooth bared. "They're holding! We can't!" Marcus sagged. Hands braced, the fight flickering under the vet's surge. Michael's chest blazed, a searing hammer smashing deep. He lurched, breath choking, hand clawing his side, tickers breaking. "MJ, one more push." The pills rattled, a scream he couldn't silence. Doc's voice a ghost. "You're done if you don't stop." He gripped the bench, jaw locked, sweat streaming cold, Clara clutching his arm. "Michael, enough." He shook her off, rising shaky, voice a rasp. "Not enough, finish it." The kids rallied, eyes wide, the vets strutting, Vince tossing a taunt. "Crawl home, old man, game's ours." Michael staggered forward, boots scuffing, his growl a lifeline through the haze. "Holding? I've held 98, Utah. Game 6, 45 seconds, down 1. Legs dead, crowd screaming, Pippin out. Know what I did?" They stared, winded, hooked, the gym's roar a hush. "Took it. 17 feet over Russell, ring 6. You're not holding, you're taking. Jalen drive, Marcus, crash, end it." Jalen's eyes flared, Marcus roared, the kids nodding, a fire bursting wild. He clapped, fierce, wincing hard, one last stand. "Now, go!" They bolted. Jalen weaved past Crawford, a layup kissing glass, 95-85, the bleachers erupting, a roar surging. Vince sneered, driving back, Oakley screened, a jumper soaring, 97-85, but Marcus swatted the next. Jalen scooping, racing, 97-88. The vets tightened, Crawford sinking a layup, 99-88, but the kids scrapped harder. Jalen stealing, Marcus slamming, 99-92. The crowd surged, stomping boards, a chant thundering, "Hub! Hub!" Locals pounding fists, hope ablaze. Vince's grin cracked, his crew fumbling, a missed shot, a turnover. Jalen darted, a 3 ripping net, 99-95. Marcus battled Oakley, a putback rattling, 99-97. The vets rallied. Vince drove, elbowing Jalen, a jumper soaring 101-97, but the kids held. Jalen's steal, Marcus's block 101-99. The bleachers detonated, a guy in a Bulls cap screaming, "They're back!" Michael rose, cap shadowing his strain, his voice a rock. "Take it now!" Jalen weaved, a jumper soaring, 101-101 tie game, the gym quaking, a tide turning fierce. The vets pressed, Oakley plowed, a layup booming, 103-101. But Jalen darted, a three kissing net, 104-103, kids up, the crowd a storm. Vince's eyes widened, his crew glancing. Something breaking, something raw. Marcus swatted Crawford, Jalen raced, 106-103, then stole again, a layup soaring, 108-103. The vets crumbled. Vince's jumper clanged, Oakley fumbled, the kids relentless, Marcus slamming 110-103. The bleachers thundered, a woman in a Hornets cap sobbing, "They've got it!" Michael's chest screamed, each beat a war. He leaned heavy, breath short, but stood, eyes blazing, his voice a lifeline. "Finish now!" Jalen drove, a jumper ripping, 112-103. Marcus crashed, a dunk booming, 114-103. Vince's crew sagged, their strut dust. The crowd surged, a chant splitting the air. "Hub! Hub!" Locals leaping, kids cheering, a fight no lead could bury. Vince staggered, ball slipping, his voice a croak. "No, damn it!" Oakley glared, Crawford slumped, the vets done. Jalen sank a final three, 117-103. The game snapped shut, the bleachers a sea of fists, a roar shaking the walls. Michael sank to the bench, hand trembling, Clara gripping him. Tickers fading, but they won. The kids swarmed, Jalen sobbing, "We did it, coach!" Marcus bellowing, "For you!" The crowd thundered, a guy in a Bulls cap screaming, "MJ's still king!" Vince stood frozen, his crew scattering. A dynasty toppled, a hub reborn. The night burned, the court a crucible. Vince's taunt a dead echo. Michael's chest pounded, each beat a victory, but he stayed, a legend standing. A tide no pain could turn. The Wilmington gym quaked under the strung bulbs, their flicker dimming as the final echoes of victory bounced off the cracked court, the air thick with sweat, cheers, and a hard-won hush. Michael Jordan slumped heavy on the bench, his faded Bulls tee a soaked shroud, Amos's cap shadowing a face drained pale, his gray hair plastered, his frame a giant felled slow. The kids, Jalen, Marcus, and the scrappy crew, stood breathless, their torn jerseys a banner of triumph, their roars a hymn shaking the rafters. 117-103, the vets broken, the hub saved. Vince Carter stood frozen, ball slipping from his grip, his leather jacket a wilted shell, his grin gone, his crew scattered. Oakley slumped on the baseline, head in hands. Crawford stared blank, a ghost of swagger fading fast. The bleachers erupted, locals leaping, a sea of fists, a chant thundering, "Hub! Hub!" Beers clinking, kids screaming, a town reborn. Jalen rushed Michael, chipped tooth flashing, voice cracking. "We did it, coach. For you." Marcus loomed, sobbing low. "You're the king." The team swarmed, a tangle of hugs, tears streaking grit. Michael's chest burned, a dull ache throbbing slow. He gripped the bench, breath shallow, the pills rattling faint, tickers held. MJ, just. Clara knelt, cane clattering, her hands trembling on his arm. "Michael, you're a fool, but God, you did it." He managed a grin, faint but real, voice a rasp. "Fool's gold shines still." The kids parted, Jalen clutching the ball, Marcus beaming. The crowd surging close, a guy in a Bulls cap bellowing, "MJ's still the GOAT." The gym pulsed, a heartbeat no defeat could still. Vince staggered over, eyes hollow, voice a croak. "Damn you, MJ. Thought you were dust." Michael met his stare, steady as hardwood. Dusk grows, Vince. You forgot. Vince turned, shuffling off, his crew trailing. A dynasty crumbled, a taunt buried. The locals surged, Miss Clara hugged by a dozen hands, a woman in a hornet's cap sobbing, "He saved us!" The hub's doors flung wide, night air rushing in, a victory spilling to the docks. Michael rose, shaky, boots scuffing, one last stand. He waved the kids close, voice low, rough. "You didn't win for me, for Amos this place, yourselves. Remember that." Jalen nodded, tears brimming. Marcus puffing proud. The team a wall of grit, a seed taking root. Clara gripped his shoulder, eyes wet. "They'll never forget. Neither will we." He nodded, cap tilting, a faint smile breaking. The pain a whisper now, the fight a flame passed on. The crowd parted. A sponsor in a crisp suit pushed through, check in hand, voice booming. "Jordan Youth Hub, funded 5 years. You've got a hell of a team." The bleachers thundered, a roar splitting the night. Locals cheering, kids leaping, a future forged. Michael sank back, hand on his chest, Amos's cap a quiet anchor. "You saw it, old man." The kids hoisted the ball, a trophy of scars, their shouts a hymn. "For MJ, for the hub!" Hours bled. The gym emptied slow, locals lingering, tales of the game already growing tall. Michael sat alone, Clara beside, the court still. Tickers fading, but they're standing. She squeezed his hand, voice soft. "You pushed too far. Why?" He glanced at her, eyes glinting. "Amos pushed me. Owed him this. These kids, they're the play now." She nodded, a tear slipping, the night a blanket settling gentle. Days spun. The wind went viral. Clips of Jalen's steals, Marcus's dunks, Michael's stand lighting up screens. Wilmington buzzed. Kids swarmed the hub, jerseys flashing, a legacy pulsing loud. Michael watched from Charlotte, Amos's cap on his desk, a smile tugging soft. Hearts ticking, but they're soaring. The doc called, "Rest, MJ, you're a miracle." But he grinned, knowing the hub's hum was worth it. A final slam, no pain could steal. The docks quieted, the gym a beacon, Jalen coaching newbies, Marcus building dreams, a town crowned anew. Michael faded back, a king not of rings, but of roots, a flame no dust could dim. Michael Jordan didn't just play, he roared, turning a secret game into a wildfire of grit. From Wilmington's mud to a hub's heart, he forged a win from loss, flipped a taunt into triumph, and left a town standing tall. Vince's crew fell, but Michael rose, a legend not of glory, but of seeds, a play that'll echo when the whistle fades. Disclaimer. Disclaimer. This is a fictionalized tale inspired by Michael Jordan's life and legacy. Events, characters like Vince Carter's crew, and details, including the 2025 secret game and health struggles, are crafted for dramatic effect and to convey a message of resilience and community. While rooted in real milestones, this story does not reflect Michael Jordan's exact biography, but honors his spirit of overcoming and uplifting.